Pioneers, let me share something with you that some of you may already know. The world, it isn't always sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place. It's a dog-eat-dog world. And I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, nobody is ever gonna hit us as hard as life will hit us. It's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit in life while keep moving forward. How much you can take while keep moving forward. That's what a winner does. Pain is temporary. It may last for a minute, an hour, a day, or a year. But eventually, it will subdue, it will subside, and something else will take pain's place. But if you quit, however, that pain will last a lifetime. It will last forever. Can't quit, won't stop, gotta get it. The margin for error is so small. One half, a step too late or too early, and you don't make it. 1/2 second too slow, too fast, and you don't quite catch it. The inches, the seconds we need are everywhere around us each and every day. They're in every break we get, every minute, every second. Use your time wisely. You got 24 hours in the day. You got a dream, you got to protect it. People can't do something themselves, they want to tell you that you can't do it. If you want something, go get it. Point blank, period. Don't be afraid to fail. You can't always win, but don't be afraid to fail so you can learn to make decisions. Better decisions. You have to believe that something can be different within inside you, that something else can happen. He who says that can and who says that can't are both the same. They're both usually right. Are you going to say you can or are you going to say you can't? Most of you said you want to be successful in life, but you don't want it as bad. You just kind of want it. You don't want it as bad as you want to party. You don't want it as bad as you want to be cool. Most of you don't want success as much as you want to sleep. Go home and kick your shoes off Netflix and chill. TikTok, watch videos, sporting events, nonsense. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful, or that our deepest fear is that we are inadequate. But we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that is what will shine. Dig deep down and ask yourself, who do you want to be? Figure out what makes you happy. No matter how crazy it may sound to those around you, make a choice. Just decide and be you. Just decide. Why not be the best there has ever been at something? At your craft, your skill. Why? Why can't you do that? Because what you believe in your hearts and speak in your minds will eventually become your words and your reality. And what you repeatedly do gets ingrained in your subconscious mindset. And what gets ingrained in your subconscious mindset becomes an unconscious action and an unconscious activity. And I've always just wanted mine to be guideful and helpful and nurturing to others. So I'm sending you all much love and high vibrations out to wherever you are. And I want to welcome you all back to another episode of the Daily Candle Close News, where we do cryptocurrency technical analysis combined with gematria, numerology, and astrology, pi, the periodic table of elements, ancient astrological teachings from an ancient prehistoric world, combined with facts, figures, numbers, logic, and common sense to help us understand these markets and the way that they move. So I'm sending you all much love and hope you're doing well. Want to shout out to anyone who has supported and invested in my art and moved forward with purchasing one of my courses, or followed the work for the last few years, where we've kind of created this own system where we do technical analysis from a very unique outside the box approach from what most people are approaching these markets with. We tend to go with some outside the box things, but we also use the Wyckoff method and looking at it from a horizontal trading level kind of vibe. And I'm seeing a lot of people in the cryptocurrency market play with a lot of patterns and drawing trend lines and just following nonsense. And it's been very interesting for me to watch over the last few years. And I feel like very people are actually stepping back and learning the basics. You know, less is more sometimes. I want to deliver a system that goes back to the basics and kind of adds a new layer with what we're seeing, with the delivery of an esoteric kind of approach with, using gematria and the approach with numbers and numerology and some things that we want to put into a number sequence and then combine that with technical analysis by taking the names of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, and then combining that with technical analysis and figure out the price levels that we could actually see these projects fall to or grow to. We're uncovering and revealing something that is very new here. And that's a utility that we want to combine with our daily lives. And with these connections of astrology, numerology, and technical analysis, we can have an exoteric and esoteric way of perceiving this market. And ever since we've started this channel, month after month, we've watched some of these what seemed like crazy predictions and ideas come to reality and fruition. And one of the most recent events was a few weeks ago during the November 7th and 8th sell-off in the markets around the lunar eclipse, which was an astrological event that has played itself out exactly how we thought it would, bringing us down to around 15,000 a couple times in the year of the tiger. So, undeniable as to why we are seeing this heading into Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter, but in the year of the tiger. Also very important, seeing Bitcoin fall to 15,000 this year, something we've talked about for several months, probably even a year now, that we were able to prepare pioneers to be able to accumulate at these ranges if they had limit orders bought or set to buy. So again, the community of people we have here is amazing. We have a community of people here at the Daily Candle Close News that is super open-minded to what is going on in the world. People that were, very similar to the dot-com bubble and, the ones that were in tune with what was going on at that time. And it's important to be surrounded with people at this time in the world right now who are looking at this with a lens with 2022 foresight, something that's bigger than the aperture of the normal man or the narrative that people like to fall for, like the theatrics of Sam Bankman-Fried or Freed or whatever, something they're eating up without any discernment, the ability to judge well. And that's one of the things that I think we have going on here at the Daily Candle Close News. We're not getting caught up in the nonsense. Over the last couple of weeks, our community wasn't sweating it because we've been prepared for this moments for 6 months, a year now, post Shemitah, to see a sell-off in these markets. And we've been preparing people specifically for why we would get these corrections, heading into the Jubilee year that we'll talk about later in this video, and just what we would see particularly in this time period. And the long and short of it is, it's great to be able to have access to this ahead of time is one of the perks to someone who's a veteran of this channel and follows the work here. And there's been some questions asked to me recently of, one in my perspective of what's going on with the cryptocurrency markets overall, because we're at a really pivotal point with everything that's occurred overall with the, SBX and, this recent sell-off in the markets and this narrative that they're throwing out there with Sam Bankman. And, we've recently seen a lot of the markets unravel. Recently, right here around this lunar eclipse, we had the midterm elections at the same time. We got CPI data that just recently came out. It's been some very interesting weeks. And someone asked me, was this in a sense already written in the algorithm or in the stars of astrology from that point of view? And I definitely think there's something to it. In my most recent video, I've released some undeniable things that we were able to pinpoint using the algorithmic code breakdown to why we see this, that were undeniable. We saw things happen exactly as we expected them on the 7th and 8th of November, things that aren't even hidden. We know that was the lunar eclipse, and we tend to see a sell-off in the markets around a lunar eclipse, and the markets are more bullish around a solar eclipse. And even with the recent token with SBX and that exchange, and FTT and its token, it's really coded in to an algorithmic code to the point of when it dropped and what it dropped to. You can check out my last video, we explained this. And it was all around that election date, yada yada, not surprising. So this was on the 7th and the 8th. So through the 9th, that very 11/9 date, that very symbolic mirror of 9/11, where we really saw this market sell off to a low before getting a bounce back up to 181 for Bitcoin, tying us into Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator, 181, where we get a rejection being the 42nd prime, always tying us into Saturn. You guys, we just exited the Shemitah, the 7-year sabbatical cycle, always tying us into Saturn, Kronos, the god of the harvest. So very important. But to return back to this, what's happening recently, what's been happening is exactly what we prepared you for. And this could be the bottom, and we'll talk about that later. A bottom, we'll discuss this more, something we've talked about for months, something we know could be a year-long event. So we know cryptocurrency is a nascent asset class, but it trades 24/7, 365. It has no breaks. It has all this extra time, 33% of the time more in the year than the stock market. So we need to know that cryptocurrency is not going to move like the regular traditional markets. And it's been in a downtrend for over a year, since November of last year when we hit our 69K top. So very important, getting back on track. The thing that I want to prepare you for, or what we were prepared for, was a bearish energy around this lunar eclipse, which happens on a full moon. And that was at the beginning of November. We get all of our cycle bottoms around these full moon and new moon patterns. So if you look at any time Bitcoin has ever hit an all-time high, it is on a new moon always. And that's 100% accuracy within a 5-day or 3-day window between the all-time highs and the exact dates, before we get eclipses and big volatility like this December 4th of last year that we were preparing pioneers for a potential 72K Bitcoin, but we fell $30,000, in a single day. So before we ended up rolling over the last year, before that April time period of April 5th, Satoshi Nakamoto's 47th birthday, and we had our last sell-off of 47K before we rolled over into another eclipse period. So this recent lunar eclipse, when Terra Luna dropped to zero from $119 to $0, it went down to fractions of a penny around this time period. It was very, exoteric around this pattern of the moon cycle. So something I want to reiterate, and how important it is to just pay attention to how important astrology and these lunar eclipses are. Heading into the next solar eclipse of 2023, I see this being a grandiose time period to build accumulation points in these markets to eat fruit in the future. So very important. Another question that was asked in the long-term basis, where do I see this market going with my technical analysis? Is there a time frame that I see a bottom coming in, and a time frame that I see a reversal in trend, because we've been in this year-long downtrend? And I'm glad people have brought this up because it's very important. I've been touching on this bottom for quite some time period, and this discussion of how it's a multiple day, week, month of event. Crypto behaves a lot more volatile than the traditional markets. Like I've stated, it's going to be isolated, and we've been seeing this volatility really come in since obviously September and Rosh Hashanah. We saw a lot of volatility come in and move these markets from these very esoteric ranges, and we've yet to fail to get back above them for quite some time. So the speed of these moves of a trend reversal and a direction change, or when to expect a bottom, I'm not talking about traditional markets. I'm solely talking about cryptocurrency in a lot of my videos here. I still think the bottom for the stock market could last until next year, but I see this time period of December full moon and January full moon being possibly volatile for the cryptocurrency markets, just like December 4th of last year, the full moon time period. That's going to be December 6th this year. So heading into the beginning of the year, we tend to see sometimes in December this end of year profit taking, which we can call tax loss harvesting, that kind of shuffles us into the new year. So how perfect would it be for the full moon of January to be on January 6th, that perfect opportunity and that perfect date that's been in the media and the news for quite some time. You know, I'm seeing some very symbolic connections approaching, and important dates to pay attention to for signs of a ultimate bottom before a trend reversal. I know we're seeing some strength in some isolated projects like certain cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin making a new low with what we saw with FTT and FTX exchange, even the ISO 20022 tokens like XRP that have taken another leg lower back down to this range, even though Ethereum's looking pretty good and not falling, just holding a structure sideways of this 1073 range. The whole market overall is still in the process of finding a new low. And if we're talking about time periods, it's going to fall between this video now and around the full moon of January 6th, or the new moon of, or February new moon of January new moon, February new moon. We could be in a full-blown recovery for cryptocurrency. And I'm not saying we could see new all-time highs or price discovery. I'm just saying we'll see a structure, trend reversal, and recovery. Maybe higher lows being formed over time, where we can expect the lower lows to happen from this lunar eclipse right here through January full moon, heading into the new year. So still got some time to build position, not financial advice. But this would start with Bitcoin, and everything else will rebalance from there. Ethereum, XRP, all these other cryptocurrencies. A positive time I see for crypto, we're going to be de-risking around the April solar eclipse heading into May, right around Satoshi Nakamoto's 48th birthday. So the next set of eclipses that are going to be showing up in April and May of 2023, I'm using these eclipses as a big overall pivot point to pay attention to months in advance. Build positions now and take a chance to de-risk. The next one we're going to look for is April 20th, 420, you guys. Hitler's birthday, National Pot Smoking Day, whatever. It's going to be a solar eclipse, and it's going to be a new moon. So that, again, bullish. This energy bullish in the market heading into the new moon, you know. And then heading into April 5th, the next birthday of Satoshi Nakamoto. It's not going to show me that out. But April 5th, you know, that's going to be very important, being the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday. And it's matched with a lot of moves in the market. Again, we sold off from 47,000 last year when on April 5th we hit 47K, Satoshi Nakamoto's 47th birthday, and we made that call months in advance that we could see that potential opportunity. I released my exit strategy and blueprint around this time period to prepare people to de-risk on this day. And you don't have to believe me. You can go back, get the course, or watch some of the work since, and you can see how this was amazingly pre-programmed to an algorithmic code, and how it came up to 47K on his 47th birthday and then rolled over, and Bitcoin has since set lower lows in structure. So Satoshi Nakamoto's birthday and the solar eclipse of the 20th of April, we're going to be de-risking automatic rally opportunities that are going to be very similar to, I believe, if we were to go back and look in 2017, this automatic rally heading into 2018-19 after a previous all-time high and then a final low. Could we see a December, January full moon bring us into a final sell-off in these markets before an automatic rally heading into the next solar eclipse, double eclipse time period, before we sell in May and walk away? And then remember to always return in September. Yeah. And then remember, September will always shine like golden December. Very traditional old time stock market sayings that we can just prepare ourselves for in advance. Something we've been doing for quite some time here. So let's continue on. We've been talking a lot about the year of the Shemitah this year and Rosh Hashanah and how this is a 7-year cycle, and it's something we prepared people for over a year, well in advance before we saw the Shemitah start last year. And we have a very special 7-year cycle we are in right now, the Jubilee. So after 7 cycles of 7 years, we have 49 years, and after on the 50th year, we have the Jubilee. And let's just say the people who run the world, the apex predator, are not using this the way that it was spoken about biblically. They're using it in a way to kind of restructure global economics and global finance and global legislation. And all the changes we're seeing in our world since 2020 are pivots on a 50-year cycle. So a good example of 50 years ago was 1971 and the Nixon shock. And we know what happened there. We prepared you for it for 3 years. We taught about it. And we saw what happened with inflation and the gold standard and the petrodollar and the 1973 and 75 recession that ended up after that. As a decoder and a technical analyst, I'm seeing a mirror reflection of the 1970s basically happening right now again today. And we're reliving that. And it's like a predictive cyclical nature and programming and experience that is just amazing to watch play out and be aware of. And we get a cheat code to what's to come in the future. So I see between now and 2025 being a time to get your shit together financially in life. Where you see yourself in the future with some of these changes that are gonna happen in the world. You don't want to be the one that's gonna be on the wrong side of this. You want to be the one that's gonna prosper and eat fruit in the future, because you're planting seeds now. And I think 2020 was a great example for where people were unexpected about what could happen and how life could change in an instant. And that's why I'm working really hard to get people to become illuminated and enlightened to next April and next solar eclipse and the time periods coming up between December and January, and then that time period of 420. It's going to be a really interesting time. We tend to see recovery for cryptocurrency in these solar phases. And what I mean by phases is moon phases, astrologically. And there's a difference between the solar phase and a lunar phase. And currently we've been going through a lunar phase. And Bitcoin is actually like the sun. It's like the solar energy of the market, of the cryptocurrency market. And if you want to create this big cryptocurrency market, if Bitcoin is the sun, nothing can survive without the sun. We can't have photosynthesis and green life and plants on this earth. We can't breathe and live without the sun. Nothing can. So no other cryptocurrency in this market can survive without Ra, Helios, the sun, soul. Okay? And what's happening during a lunar eclipse? We're getting a blocking out of the sun. We're getting a blocking out of energy. And when we have a solar phase, if we go back in time, we see Bitcoin is always in its solar phase, like back here in April of last year. Okay, so until April 5th and April 20th in the transition into the next couple year lasting solar phase, I see this being a grandiose time period to build our portfolios and positions now, even if this isn't the low. Build a dollar cost average, monthly, weekly, bi-weekly approach into your favorite assets that have real use case utility. And a lot of people come to my work and they want to learn the exoteric approach with numerology, gematria, astrology to approach cryptocurrencies or to approach their stocks. Or some people just come for the motivation. And I will say this, and maybe it answers some questions, is when is the stock market going to bottom? Like I said, that could take up until September or November of 2023. This is kind of a warning to people right here getting stopped out at the 702, the golden pocket from our recent fib pull from high to low. This could be a double top and a very bearish M pattern that leads to lower lows. We could push up to the top of the golden pocket and ultimately still set a higher low over time, a lower high over time, still setting lower lows, so still in a downtrend. Just seeing this be a cautionary time period. I wouldn't get too ahead of myself and buy in right now. Just relax and let this market just kind of settle itself down. But I do think crypto is going to bottom between now to January very soon. But it could take up until September of next year for the true ultimate bottom for the stock market, traditional markets, and the indices to come in. And that's what makes the aspects of gematria and the work around certain cryptocurrencies so profound. Could we still see XRP fall to 22 cent and be correlated with the gematria and be in a percentage move that's in correlation with the gematria as well? If you go back to the 2001 .com bubble, you can see that the NASDAQ and the Dow Jones, it was different back in time. And if you use the gematria to see what they fell to and rose to, percentage gains and drops, it's pretty exoterically matching the numerology when you type out NASDAQ. So it's something you can do on your own time for free. Just spend some time going back in time and use these approaches, add it to the technical analysis to determine some of these potential approaches to the market moving forward. It'll be pretty mind-blowing, I do think, when you start to do this on your own and realize what we're seeing take place in a cyclical nature, repeating itself over time. So very important. And now back to speaking on the bottom, like we've been doing basically in this video. I really want to hammer this in. The bottom is not the lowest price. We never look at the bottom as the absolute low. We look at the bottom as a base, a form of structure building, where a form of structure has continued and repeated itself and then pivots out. It's when the downtrend shifts to an uptrend, when we go from having lower highs and lower lows to having a shift of higher highs and higher lows. That's what the bottom is, and that's when the bottom ends. And that phase could take 7 years for the indices in the traditional market, where it could take 2 years or a year or 6 months for cryptocurrency. That's nothing set in stone for cryptocurrency, because again, it trades 24/7, 365. It's the never-ending casino. So for people that want to have clear approaches to this market and general guidance, I would just look for the month of January for more opportunity for the cryptocurrency market to be in that pivot time period, heading into February, March, April, versus the traditional markets that could still be in an overall downtrend. So a lot of people that have the initial move to the downside, like back here in June, July, they thought they were a genius for buying back here, but then months later we just ended this arduous downtrend after this bear flag that we knew was a bearish time period, and then we're just heading into lower lows, and now they're quiet. You see, the reason the market maker has a huge drop in the market is to get people to get fudded out. They want to liquidate the shorts and the longs really quickly by shooting you back and forth in this zigzag pattern that we've been in over time, but still in a downtrend. People want to try and make up for their losses by buying this and buying in, but then they're going to catch you another way by hitting you with a bull trap and then breaking that structure low over time. They go quick, exciting to the upside, and then quick down, slow down to the upside, to the downside. I'm sorry, you guys. They break you on the lows again and get you frustrated in a boring time period with a rally to the upside and then a bull trap again around a lunar time period. So again, all making a lot of sense for those that are approaching this from an outside the box approach and not just thinking that cryptocurrency is going to go to the moon and make them a millionaire overnight. So very important. It's important that people realize the opportunity we have in this market right now. This is an opportunity right now to learn, to build a thesis. Don't squander this opportunity just playing the waiting game on your knowledge and your future. It's okay to wait to put money in the market. Of course, if you're not ready and you haven't built the basic and fundamental approach to this market. But I worry about people sometimes when they're emotionally tied to this market and they have this emotional lack of discipline and discernment. Study the cycles between bull run tops and bull run bottoms, and study when most retail investors bull in the FOMO stage and when they sell during these catastrophic drops to the downside because they got fear and they keep witnessing their portfolios drop. Don't be that person. Be the exact antithesis, opposite of that. If you're down in your portfolio, you still have your coins. Stack on top of them. Back the truck up, load it, and stack it. You can hold on to it, but the moment you sell at a loss, you lose. Take advantage of using these opportunities that we're getting to build yourself up to be the legend in your family that we always knew you were meant to be. And that's going to be following your own thesis and strategy by not listening to these YouTubers and nonsense that they share with you on YouTube, Twitter, etc. So the recent new moon brought some up. We saw this dip before the new moon of the 23rd of November, bringing some boom energy in the markets, but then bringing another sell-off, a kind of V-shaped recovery possibly right here around Thanksgiving, tying us back into this time period back here of 2020 when we saw this November V-shaped recovery that then led to a kind of retest before an uptrend into the beginning of the year. So something we're kind of been talking about and hope you've been paying attention to in this video. So hopefully you have a lot of insight into how these eclipses and time periods work heading into the beginning of the year. Same thing right here, heading into January of 2022. We had a downtrend into December, January, full moons, and then a relief into the January new moon, heading into February, before ultimately getting that sell-off around the March, April time period. So just look at how the beginning of the year is played out in years previous. So another thing we can look at is the date numerology of today being Happy Thanksgiving, you guys. Something I probably should have said in the beginning of this video, but today tying it back into the 7-year sabbatical cycle and the Shemitah, following up with that time period, the 7-year cycle. We have some connections. Today's being a 77 date numerology, and this was a 77 date numerology. We know this was coming out of the 7-year sabbatical cycle, known as the Shemitah. And when typed out, either way, we get that 38 or that 83 when we type it out in its other written language way. We get that 83 and that 38 as well. In this time period today, tying back into the end of the Shemitah, the 7-year sabbatical cycle, and the start of Rosh Hashanah this year, we see it's an 8-week, 3-day time period, being 59 days, tying us into, again, the tiger, the year of the tiger, giving us that 59. So something I thought was very esoteric that we'd pay attention to today on Thanksgiving, 11/24. 1 + 1 is 2, so that's 224. So I was paying attention to Bitcoin today on 11/24, 224, being the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, giving us that 224. Very esoteric. And we saw, not really anything special, but just something to pay attention to. Could this be a volatile day? Heading out of this day. Obviously, yesterday was 11/23, 223, tying us into our favorite pals at Skull and Bones, the Order of Death, Brotherhood of Death, Order 223, 322. So very esoteric. Just some time periods that I was paying attention to when we were looking at the date numerology. Just tying us into a lot of things we were talking about this year by the numbers in the 7-year sabbatical cycle, leaving 37 days left in the year, which is important to take note of because we see, where'd I get that 37? 37 is the 3 7s, symbolizing the 3 7s in the casino, the jackpot. But we get this 37 in Sagittarius, something we just entered, which is the Archer, something that also ties us into Bitcoin with that 45. We know Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. So again, Jupiter is the tiger stripe planet. We're in the year of Jupiter, the year of the tiger in Chinese zodiac and astrology. So all very important. We get that 37. We got 37 days left in the year, and yesterday was the beginning of Sagittarius and the Archer, or November 22nd, so 2 days ago. So very important. We know the 21st, 22nd tends to bring a microstructure reset and restructure and low in the market. So the 21st, 22nd being that exactly right before the new moon, bringing us an uptrend. Just kind of eating up this low right here that we got around the 9th of November. Again, 11/9, the mirror of 9/11. So this very important connections right here, following the moon cycles, following the patterns and the things that we've been teaching about. So until we get back above these moving averages of the 322, the 223, and this horizontal 181, Satoshi Nakamoto 181 horizontal trading range, and building support above that, that's what we're paying attention to. We could watch this be boring and sideways, building structure with a fake out and a rejection from some of these ranges, bringing us down even lower over time. So very important. We're in Sagittarius, which gives us that very important 144, that chosen one. But we just saw Thanksgiving, so could we fall to a 14,100 range? Who knows? We know Bitcoin just turned 14 years old on Halloween or Samhain, so very, very exoteric and important. We'll just have to pay attention to this December-January time period and see how it continues to play out moving forward. All right. Let's see. Let's talk about Ethereum real quick. There's not much to talk about before we head out of here. But we know we're just trying to get back above this horizontal trading range and these exponential moving averages and this trend line that has been a downtrend, kind of like a broadening wedge type pattern to the downside. And we'd like to get back above that and hold support of this trend line and this horizontal range, these exponential moving averages. Ethereum's really holding structure. It hasn't broken its June low like everything else in Bitcoin has. It's nothing to be throwing a party over, but even if we were to break this, it would just still be another lower high over time. So seeing more downside opportunity for ETH if ETH can't hold 1,073, 1,000, psychologically, really solid place I think we can accumulate at within this 12,000 to 1,200 range. So those of you that have a really long-term investment thesis, you're building positions right now, whether it's the bottom or not. So if you're tracking this market, we tweak as time goes. We keep up with the opportunities, and there's still opportunity for even lower prices in Ethereum. And what happens when we have these corrections is a lot of people don't take action. They get fear to the downside, and they only want to FOMO in when we're pumping up 100, 200% to the upside, and we're totally overbought and overheld. So I do see more opportunity in the December full moon, January full moon of the new year for Ethereum as well. So 1,000 to the downside, possibly 800, maybe that 750 range. That could facilitate ETH to take a new low, all the way down to around, I'd go right here to this 830, possibly this $840 range, $850 range. Just wanted to share that. Go to XRP now. A lot of people that have been following this for quite some time, something I've been talking a lot about lately. We shared with you how this, we tend to see this Bart Simpson head last for about 40 days for XRP, and then it sold off around this lunar eclipse, the full moon, bearish energy, back down to 322, 32 cents. Been covering this week after week after week, as this has been accumulation. We've accumulated twice that we've hit this range recently, just like back here before we de-risked. So my thesis is more of a short-term trader on XRP, but it is my #1 holding, and I have a long-term bag. But we've been making these calls for over a year and a half on this channel, and it's amazing to watch so many of this play out, just like this Bart Simpson pattern and this trend line rejection around 11.8, 11.9, 9.11, this time period in November. So undeniable, you guys. So please keep up with the videos and take notes, especially if you're one of the ones that are dedicated to being an XRP army enthusiast. Whatever, we're getting rejection right now from these very important exponential moving averages of the 322, 223, getting trapped in this exponential moving average, horizontal trading range, and exponential moving average. The fact that this is getting steeper and steeper and the RSI is overbought, that's scary, you guys. But this trend line is getting just rejected overall for the last year, and every time we extend above this trend line, we correct in a new lower low, and we've done that again and again. So if we look at this on the daily, you can really see that every time we get extended lower lows, all the way back to April of 2021. So for over a year now, this trend line is really getting steep and really getting attacked, and I think by the new year we could break away from this trend line and start setting support on the outside heading into the beginning of the new year, February, April, March, that solar eclipse period that could bring bullish energy into the markets. So between now and then, December, January, could we get those lower lows to 22, maybe 15, 14 cents? Who knows? If Bitcoin rolls over again, we can have a sub 30 cent to 27, 22 cent opportunity in the play, in cards, especially if we get back above this and fail to hold support again. It's again resulted in lower lows over time every time we've done that. So 38, 39 right here, short-term resistance, de-risking opportunity, period. Not financial advice. If we get up to 44, 41, to that 42, 47 cents, getting back up here again on the daily time period and getting rejected from these exponential moving averages, just like in the previous months and weeks, then take this into consideration to de-risk and then build and set limit orders to accumulate. It's very easy, not financial advice. So we're going to leave this video here, and I hope you all enjoyed it. Ready to get back into bringing some more content to you guys. Just spent some time stepping away, enjoying life, and spending time with the family during this very Thanksgiving and family, celebrated holidays. So much love, take care, and God bless. Pioneers rise, build your fortress, and build your legacy.